Right, guys, equivalent fractions. Why do we call them equivalent fractions and not equal fractions? Well, because they are equal. Two fractions that are equivalent are actually equal in size, but they look different, so we probably just use a different word. Let's get straight into it. It's not hard to understand, guys, if you just think of pizzas. And remember, the pizza represents the number 1. So when I'm talking about a slice of pizza, we're actually talking about a slice of the number 1. 3/4, you'll get that. I have a pizza, cut it into 4 equal pieces, and I eat 3. There they are, the red pieces we eat. Now, to make an equivalent fraction that looks different to that, but is still the same, I could take every one of these pieces, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and divide each one of those into 2 equal pieces each. So can you see what I've done? I've just taken the quarters and cut each quarter in half, and my pizza is now being cut into 8. So let's do the pizza story. I have a pizza, cut it into 8 equal pieces, and I eat 6 of them. So 3/4 and 6/8 are 2 equivalent fractions. Which pizza would give you more pizza to eat? They would be the same. Just over here, the slices, you'd probably have to fold them up double like a calzone. And over there, you could eat them one at a time. So 3/4 is the same as 6/8. 3/4 is equivalent to 6/8, or 3/4 equals 6/8. There they are next to each other. 6/8 on the left, 3/4 on the right. 1/3. There it is. You know what that is. I have a pizza, cut it into 3 equal pieces, and eat 1. Now, what if I do the same as I did in the previous example? I cut this piece in half, I cut that piece in half, and I cut that piece in half. I'm going to end up with 6 equal pieces. Notice the amount of pizza that I eat, the red, hasn't changed, but there are more slices. I have a pizza, I cut it into 6 equal pieces, and I eat, you can see, 2 of them. So 1/3 and 2/6 is exactly the same, or not exactly the same thing, same amount of pizza, just looks different. 2/5. I have a pizza, cut it into 5 equal pieces, or I have the number 1, cut it into 5 equal pieces, and I eat 2 of them. Now, what happens if I cut each of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, into 2 equal pieces each, like that? See, the amount of pizza is still the same. I've just cut each slice in half. Obviously, now we have 10 slices. I have a pizza, I cut it into 10 equal pieces, and I eat 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. 2/5 is equivalent to 4/10. What happens is we don't always have to just cut those in half. We go back to 3/4. What would I get if I decided to cut each one of these into 3 equal pieces? So this quarter, I'm going to cut into 3, this one, this one, this one. It would look like that. All right. I would be cutting each quarter into 3 equal pieces. And if I add up all together now, my pizza is cut up into 12 equal pieces. And I eat, if you count them, 9. So 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12. What about if I decide to become a bit crazy? Yes, 3/5. I decide to take each one of these fifths. There's 1/5 there, another there, another one there. And each one of these fifths I'm going to divide into 4 equal pieces. So there'll be 4 there, 4 there, 4 there, 4 there, 4 there. There will be 4 times 5, 20 slices. It looks like that. Fifths, 20ths. And if you count them, you will see that you have 12 little slices. You would still be eating the same amount of pizza, or you'd still have the same fraction of 1. The slices are just a lot smaller, and you eat more of them. 12 20ths. There they are next to each other. 3/5 on the left and 12 20ths on the right. When it's written like that, you can actually see if I go 3 times 4 is 12, 5 times 4 is 20. I multiply by 4/4 quarters. 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom, which is 4 quarters. 3 times 4 is 12. 5 times 4 is 20. And that's a kind of a quick way of getting an equivalent fraction. So if we just go back here quickly, 3 quarters, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 3 is 12. You can also go 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4, 5 times 2 is 10, or 4 divided by 2 is 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6. So can you see, whatever you do at the top, 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8. So it's basically, whenever you take a fraction and you multiply it by the same number at the top and the bottom, you're actually multiplying just by 1. And you know that when you multiply anything by 1, it stays the same. Now, I'm going to show you some fractions, and I'd like you just to make one fraction that's equivalent to that fraction. So I'm going to give you an example on there. There's 3 quarters. I'm going to ask you to make one equivalent fraction to 3 quarters. If you need time to think, pause the video and then continue. Right. The first one, the easiest one, just multiply by 2 at the top and the bottom. 6/8. 3 quarters is equivalent to 6/8. Or multiplying by 3/3. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. Or multiplying by 4. 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16. Multiplying by 5. 3 times 5 is 15, 4 times 5 is 20. All of these fractions are equivalent. 3 quarters, 15 20ths, 12 16ths. Multiplying by 6, 3 times 6 is 18, 4 times 6 is 24. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different equivalent fractions to 3 quarters. Number 2, pause the video. When you're ready, carry on. Right, first one, maybe multiply by 2 halves. So we multiplied it by 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, 2/10. Multiplying by 3/3, you could go 1 times 3 is 3, 5 times 3 is 15. So those 2 fractions are equivalent. You'd be eating the same amount of pizza on the left and the right. Multiplying by 4 quarters, 1 times 4 is 4 at the top, 5 times 4 is 20 at the bottom. Multiplying by 5/5, 1 times 5 is 5, 5 times 5 is 25. Number 3, I'd like you to make one equivalent fraction. Make 2 if you like, if you're quick. Make as many as you like if you want. If you want to do all of them, it's up to you. Just pause the video, and when you're ready to carry on, do that. Right. Multiplying by 2 halves, I get 4/6. Those 2 are equivalent. Multiplying by 3 at the top and 3 at the bottom, 3/3, I get 6/9. Multiplying by 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom, I get 8/12. Multiplying by 5/5, which is 1, 5 at the top, 5 at the bottom, I get 10/15. Multiplying by 6/6, I get 12/18. Right, one more. Make 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. I think I've only done 5. Equivalent fractions to 3/10. Pause the video, carry on when you're ready. Right, 6/20. I just doubled the numerator and denominator. I multiplied by 3/3, 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom, 9/30. I multiplied by 4 quarters. 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom gives me 12/40. Multiplied by 5 at the top and the bottom gives me 15/50. And multiply by 6/6, I get 18/60. So all of those are equivalent, and there are heaps more, guys. It can go on forever. Last one, it would help if you know your 6 and 7 basic facts. Right, do as many as you want. Pause the video, and when you're ready, carry on. First one, 12/14. I multiplied by 2 halves. 18/21. I multiplied by 3 at the top and 3 in the bottom, which is 3/3. 24/28 are multiplied by 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom. 24/28, 4 quarters. I multiplied by 5/5, 5 at the top, 5 at the bottom, and I get 30/35. And my last one, although there are many more, I multiplied by 6/6, which gives me 36/42. Now, if you didn't quite get that, guys, go back and watch the video again. Equivalent fractions, although I don't like to give methods, if somebody asks you to write a fraction that's equivalent to a fraction that they give you, just multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same thing and you'll have an equivalent fraction. Or you can divide the numerator and the denominator by the same thing and you'll have an equivalent fraction. But you can't always do that. Both the top and the bottom need to be able to be divided by that number. Right, and that's equivalent fractions, the basics.